Welcome back to another video on Intro to Machine Learning. In this tutorial, we will learn three approaches to dealing with missing values. There are many ways data can end up with missing values. Most machine learning libraries, including scikit-learn, give an error if you try to build a model using data with missing values. A simple option: drop columns with missing values. Unless most value in the drop columns are missing, the model loses access to a lot of information with this approach. In the first line of code, we see a for loop that checks for each column in the variable xstring. Using isNullValue, we check the column in the presence of any null value. If there is a null value, isNull method contains all the true and false value for each value in a column. .any method checks whether that column contains any true value. If it is, then we append that column in the calls with missing variable. Now that we have got all our columns with missing values, we can now drop that column. We can drop the column using drop method by passing the variable calls with missing and another parameter axis is equal to 1. When we use axis is equal to 1, we mean that we are going to drop the column. If we specify it axis is equal to 0, that means we are going to drop the row. Now that we have our reduced xtrain and xvalid, we can train our model, fit our model, check for the mean absolute error. A better option could be imputation. Imputation actually is assigning a value from a process or a different product. It fills the missing value with some number. The next example is of imputation. We are going to import a simple imputer from sklearn library. We are going to initialize the simple imputer method to my imputer. So next we are going to perform a fit transform on xtrain. So fit transform can be understood by dividing the function into two other functions, fit and transform. So fit, what actually fit does is fit replaces the missing value with the main value of that column. Suppose if we have a column with three values and there is one missing value, so a main operation will be performed and the missing value will be replaced with the main value. Now what transform is going to do is transform will replace all the missing values with a number that is a main value. So all these missing values has been replaced by the main value, and we are going to store this data in imputed xtrain. Now we will do the same operation, that is transform on xvalid. We don't need to do fit in the xvalid because we have already done once, and we can perform transform on the xvalid as well. So what happens when we do imputation? We lose the column name. So we are going to provide the column name again by giving the imputed xtrain.columns equals to xtrain.columns. Now that we have our data, we can train our model, we can find a mean absolute error and check which approach is better. If we see, the mean absolute error for the second approach, which is imputation, is much better than the first one. The third option we can look at is an extension to imputation. In this approach, we impute the missing value as before, and additionally for each column with missing entries in the original dataset, we add a new column that shows the location of imputed entries. In the third approach, which is an extension to imputation, we see there is a xtrain.copy. This line of code is mostly used to avoid changing the original data when imputing. So we are going to add an extra column which is was missing column in xtrain and xvalid variable. Once we have initialized the was missing, we can perform same operation what we did in the imputation, which is in the second approach. We are going to do a fit transform on xtrain and transform on xvalid. Now we are going to initialize the column names, and we have our data ready to perform so that we can train our model with the data. If we see the mean absolute error for this approach, it is almost near to the second approach and also better than the first approach. Approach 2 and 3 yielded better results. When we simply drop columns with missing values, the data and information is lost, and the training the model becomes difficult. So only drop columns if the more than 50% of data is missing. I hope you found this video helpful. If yes, consider subscribing to this channel, and happy learning.